Hey, old friend, thank you for joining another episode of Mastering Your Mentality. Today, I'm super excited because we are taking a deep dive into really figuring out why you do the things you do, why you think the way you think, and why others do it too. You're going to understand how it all fits together, how we're all connected, and really a deep level of understanding your problems, your limitations, your struggles. It's going to help you to solve a lot of these questions and truly expand and enhance your understanding of what's going on in the world. By learning something today, like we'll go over the A-qual theory, by learning that, you're going to truly step up. You're going to level up your mind's ability to function and understand and contribute. So Tuesdays are going to be like a practical, build up your character, your personality, build positive habits. On Thursdays, we're taking a deep study into our inner workings and what's going on in our world. So I want to dive into this A-qual theory, or theory of everything, made up by my man Ken Wilber. Now, he came up with it in the 70s, but really it's been refined and added on to ever since. He wrote a book in 2006 called The Theory of Everything. If you're interested in this, you can check that out too. It's pretty good stuff. Now, A-qual theory stands for all quadrants, all levels, all lines, all states, and all types. So let's start with that quadrant. So again, to understand this is to understand what's going on inside you and what's going on inside us. Not only inside, but what's happening outside. Let me explain a little bit deeper. So by inside of us, I mean, well, the way we understand things, the way we can listen to music, the way we can watch TV. So these are things that are happening inside of ourselves, our thoughts and dreams and desires. Now, what's happening outside of us as an individual is going to be like our behaviors or stuff you can slap and measure. These are things that are outside our skin and bones, but also can be our organs. And again, like I said, our behaviors. So now what's going inside of us as the collective is going to be like our relationships. So in this quadrant, you're going to understand, okay, really the complexities of you understanding me right now. I'm trying to, come up with these words to express how I feel or how I'm thinking, and you are taking it in and understanding it through your lens. It's an incredible thing, this quadrant. Now, what's happening outside of us as the collective is stuff that you can actually observe. Let's talk about agriculture, and the industry boom, or technology, for example. That's a brief overview of quadrants. We will get into that more as the weeks and months and years go by. But for now, let's talk about levels, because this is deeply interesting. This is probably one of my favorite things about A-qual theory. Now, Ken Wilber, he breaks it up into colors, much like Claire Graves' model or spiral dynamics. So by colors, it just is an easy representation of our growth hierarchy, meaning that you include and transcend that level, the previous level. So you are actually growing and getting better. By watching something like this, you are going to grow and expand and get better, get more knowledgeable. You're going to include everything that you previously thought with now these new teachings. So I just want to go over it real quick because we'll be going in depth in a few weeks. But levels would be something like you're a little baby. All right, so all you depend on everybody else for survival. And then you grow up and you're with your family. And hey, it's us versus them. I care about my people. And then you grow up past that. And it's like, okay, so now you leave the tribe and you're by yourself again. But you're still confused and violent and aggressive and you can't handle your business. And so it's you take it out on other people. Then you grow and you grow into a larger collective, like a religious group or organization, and it's us. But still, if you're not in our group, hey, get bent because we don't want you. And then you kind of separate from there and become more, again, you expand your knowledge of really who's all cool. You have a more world centric view, but that's because you're almost more like an entrepreneur and you're results oriented. And so I don't care if I got to screw over the environment, I'm looking after myself. But then you kind of grow into more of a, we'll call even a hippie lovey dovey. I love people, plants, and things. But everybody else who's not loving these things, they're wrong. But you're still more of a world centric view where you include more people. And that's all tier one. And when you're in tier one, you think everybody else is wrong. And then you get to tier two. And tier two is actually looking back and saying, whoa, now it's a quantum leap into, I start to understand things on a systematic view. You start grasping these ideas, you're going to start to see things from a different level. We call this even a meta level. This is tier two, meaning I can understand of where everybody is coming from, what their beliefs are, and why they, you'll fight till you die for what you believe in. And there's nothing wrong with that because that's the stage of development you're at. And then beyond that, you get to tier three. But we'll stick with just that integral. You understand the inner workings because you've learned your lesson and you grew from it. You can include and transcend these levels. So levels is a deep, complex thing that, we're going to get into and you're going to get your eyes really open wide. It's a very cool topic. But let's stick to lines next up. So this lines, you can have different levels of development based on your line of intelligence. Now there's 12 major lines of intelligence, such as like your music ability, your kinesthetic ability, how well you kick a football, your cognitive ability, your let's see what else, relationship ability. See, these are different lines of intelligences. Emotional intelligence, spiritual intelligence. So you can have a really high cognitive intelligence and a really low moral intelligence. This would look like a Nazi doctor. Okay? So these lines are also very interesting. There's over 100. Ken Wilber talked about in one of his books. But we're going to skip on to all states because this starts to get a little bit more complex as we talk about gross. These are like actual states of our body, let's say. So while you're in, again, this is happening simultaneously. Not only are we tetric-arising, not only are we focusing on what's happening inside, outside of us, to me, to you at the same time, and understanding our levels, understanding what we're really good at. But now, what state are we in? Are we just focusing on our gross state, which is like my skin and bones, my physical state that you can poke, or my subtle state? Subtle being like daydreaming, thinking. Anytime you get in your emotions and your feelings, this is like a subtle state. Your causal state is like a deep dream state. Your subtle is like dreamless. Backwards. Subtle's daydreaming. Causal is dreamless. Like when you're deep sleep, you're dreamless. It's like you're dead, basically. But then we have a witnessing state. This is actually witnessing everything coming up. This is an advanced state. These three, gross, subtle, causal, everybody experiences every day. But when you start getting deep spiritually, you start to witness. You can witness your ideas coming up. You're not so closely tied to them. You don't associate so close to them. You can start to separate and you just watch. You're the witnesser. You're just watching everything arise in front of you until we get to a non dual. All of a sudden, non dual meaning not two, but an infinite singularity. For some of you who've tried psychedelics, you might have dropped that ego sense and like the bottom of the bucket opens up to all of a sudden you are the entire experiencing happening. All of this simultaneously is now just you, a part of you. So we're going to start getting into that, but that's way down the road because that's when we start getting into tier 3. So there you have it, folks. And then you might have, oh, wait a minute. We still got all types. What does that mean? That is, if levels are our vertical growth, types is going to be our horizontal growth. Meaning, I have some examples. Myers-Briggs. Let's say you're introverted or extroverted. What type is that? Well, that's going on inside of the individual. Let's say, for example, your blood type, O positive, or your body type, mesomorphic. Well, where's that happening? Since it can be measured, that's happening to the also upper right. If you see, this is kind of a nice little cheat sheet. Now, what would you say about relationships? Friendship? Is it platonic? Is it intimate? Well, we're going to start talking about we inside. This is me and you. What's happening here? Maybe teacher, student. Maybe buddy, buddy. I'll let you be the judge of that. Let's talk about our political parties. Something that's outside in the collective. It's happening in our lower right quadrant. Now, I just love this stuff, and I'm going to tell you what, folks, I could end it right there today and say, hey, that's all she wrote. But I want to add one more thing. Uh-oh. This here is a little taste of what it means to wake up, grow up, show up, and clean up. That means it's happening inside yourself, and we're going to start touching on this. Waking up, I kind of told you about witnessing and non-duality. When you start waking up to the actual true events of what's occurring. But then growing up means, hey, growing up through the levels. Now, showing up means you're showing up on all these quadrants. Cleaning up, what does that mean? It means clean out the closet, clean out the basement. You got to clean out these shadows. The shadows that are like repressed feelings and emotions that we project onto other people. A lot of people, they will focus on only one thing or one quadrant. To be integral, to be holistic, is to start to understand all of it. And friends, there's a lot to unload. So I look forward to the next few years of unfolding it to you, and I'll get better teaching it and better understanding it. Because remember, I'm only at a certain level myself. I'm doing the best I can to speak to you at your level. So please help me by commenting what you liked and what I need to improve on. All right, friends, I seriously hope that helped. Until next time.